This is the Pay Yourself First Budget Planner. This is from me, Penny's Not Perfection, and this is just something I created for myself that has a guide to how you can budget by putting yourself first and setting yourself up to succeed long term. So basically all of the things you need to do, the order of your money and what you should do first, how to manage your money and make sure you are taking care of big things and the small things. So your future self will thank you if you do this method of budgeting, I promise. It is all about setting goals. So the first actual worksheet in this planner, in this printable, that you can use either printed out like this or in an iPad or any kind of note-taking app. You basically set your short-term, medium financial goals and your long-term goals, and then these goals guide your budget. Then there's also a sheet to do your before your actual take-home budget. This is something that kind of gets missed often in budget planners. So basically making sure you are paying attention to your paycheck deductions. Your money before it comes home to you is still your money and very important. So you should have a date of every paycheck, your deduction, the amount, percentage, and if it actually was correct. You need to be paying attention to those things because they can be wrong. They have been wrong before for me, and I know it is something that you don't want to look at, but is very important. And this is things like 401k deductions, health insurance premiums, savings accounts, all sorts of things, life insurance, all the things you have at work that come out of your paycheck. You should be paying attention to that. So this worksheet kind of helps you walk through that. Then we have several budgeting worksheets for monthly and paycheck budgeting. So basically you list all your income sources up here, all of the things you need to pay first. So those are the things that were in those previous sheets. So things that are for long-term savings goals, for investing, things like that, you need to have them up here. It also includes debt because you should be paying off your debt. So anything that's going to make your financial life better, you're going to include here in your budget. And then these are fixed expenses, so your bills. And then over here, you have sinking funds. There's several videos on my channel. If you don't know what those are, you can look at those. They are very helpful if you're a new budgeter or just budgeting in general. So it's saving up for big expenses that are coming. You would list those all here. And then variable expenses, so the things you are spending discretionary money on, or things like food and eating out and gas, things like that, that change week to week. Then this sheet is the paycheck budget version. So basically you would just put the paycheck dates. So if you're paid bi-weekly, you could do this and break it down from your monthly budget, or you could just do one monthly budget, or you could do a paycheck budget for every single week if you get paid weekly. It really just depends. And then this is a calendar where you can write out the month and have your bills listed so that you know which paycheck things are going to fall into. This bills list, you only need to do one time. You can fill out the bills you have every single month, the due date, the amount that's normally due, or if it's variable, you can put a range and then who it's due to. This will help you so much with doing the calendar every month. You can just refer back to the one list that you made. Having it done once is so nice to have, just so you can refer back to it. And then this is the bill tracker. So if you want, you can do this for each month and then write all your bills out, when they're due, amount, and then what you actually paid. If you do pay something different than what is due, and then you can check it off once it's paid. This is a spending tracker, which if you don't do anything else, tracking your spending is so important. It is the key to budgeting. You can budget, but if you don't actually track what you spend, it doesn't really matter. If you're new, definitely use something like this where you write it out. You write what you spent, what category it goes under, the amount, and any notes. If you are trying to determine how you're spending or if certain things cause more spending, notes is really helpful in that. And do this for a couple months and you will get such a better handle on your spending. It's so great. You can also use apps, but they are a lot more passive than something like this. So maybe do this for a month or two and then do an app that does it passively for you. So you don't spend a ton of time doing this, but you're still making sure that you know what's happening. This transaction log is for sinking funds. So you can write the sinking fund that you're using and the starting balance. So if you are trying to save up for your 6-month car insurance, you can write car insurance, then the starting balance if it's 0 or 100, whatever. Then basically every time you are going to have withdrawals or deposits and the balance will change, you just keep track on one log. And you can create as many of these as you need for as many sinking funds as you need. Those are so personal to people's individual budgets. It's hard to know how many you might need or want, but it's a great way to keep track of things so that you just have that in your mind. This page is a weekly check-in for variable expenses. I have found that most people only really need to pay attention to a couple different categories. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4 categories. So things like food, so eating out, or if you are doing grocery spending, or things like transportation, so Ubers and train passes and things like that. It really depends on your specific budget, what you spend the most on, every single week you might want to check in on just that category. So basically what you budgeted and what you've spent, and the difference will give you such a good idea of what you are really losing out on your money, where it is leaking from your budget. So this is really useful every single week of the month to kind of check in on those problem categories. Like, honestly, eating out is a huge one for most people. So having a budget for that category and seeing what you actually spent for the week and the difference will help you kind of get a better rein on your spending. Then back here, we have some cash envelope trackers. I personally am not a cash budgeter, but a lot of people that use this method of budgeting and follow me are. So we have a little cash envelope tracker. If you are doing that, you can write the category that you are getting the cash for, the starting balance, and what you added each time, and then kind of keep track with a little log down here. Similar, if you are going to get cash out, if you're going to a bank, you can basically decide how much cash you want total and then break it down by the bill types so you can put them in the different envelopes. And then finally, this is something that I really, really like doing every single month. Basically, before I start my budget, I set my goals for the month, whether that is to spend less on groceries or to save up in my emergency fund or to buy Taylor Swift tickets. Honestly, it doesn't really matter. Whatever my goals are financially, I want to put them up here so I know before I create my budget. And then having important dates. So if you're having holidays, so if you're having 3 birthdays, a wedding, and a major holiday, you want to have those listed. If you have any one-time expenses, having this listed out before you start your budget is super, super helpful. It kind of just gives you a guide to make it easier. And you do this every single month because every single month is different. You're going to have one-time expenses and important dates different in every single month. And then the final one is the budget recap. So basically, you look back on everything that happened for the month. You kind of see what you did with your goals. You have the things you're grateful for, what you can do better next month, where you can improve, and this kind of gives you an idea of how to get better. Budgeting is something you get better at as you go, as you do it more often. So this is just a great way to help you kind of package it all together, learn from what you're doing, and it's been really helpful for me. I hope it's helpful for you. You can get this whole thing in my budget shop at shop.pennysnotperfection.com.